Alrighty, you guys. Let's get right on into it. Let me know what you're looking at in the chat now. Nice to see you, Harold. We got quite a few people hopping in on the stream today. I'm quite liking it. I've done some modifications to the stream, like I've adjusted the microphone so the microphone isn't popping so much. So it should be a more pleasant and enjoyable listening experience for you guys. Boss in the house. Yes, that's right. Thank you, Harold. All right. And as you heard before, we have some new background music. Hopefully it's going to be way better than the copyright-free music crap we've been listening to. We're going to have much better music to listen to during the streams now. Yeah, and I also am bringing up the thing in the trades thread. I'm glad you caught that. I'll go ahead and bring this up now. I'll even turn this down just a tad. Yeah, so if anyone wants me to cover charts, trade ideas, macro stuff, political stuff, to post it in the trades thread. So if, let's say, you want me to cover a particular thing on the stream, but you know you're not going to be around to watch the stream live, or if you want to just have something written out and prepared that won't fit in a YouTube live message, then you can go here to the trades thread and go ahead and post whatever it is you want. You can also post your trades here and do your trade logs here if you want, like what we have in the trading group. But this will be for, people to publicly discuss particular trades, right? And then of course you have the different chat channels for developing news, talking about specific asset classes and whatnot, and then the research channels for doing research. But let's say, everyone's doing research in the Trump tariffs thread. Everyone's posting stuff in the Trump tariffs thread. And you're like, well, I want to focus on how, the Mexican peso or the Canadian dollar here, right? I want to focus on like some particular TA thing and a couple of macroeconomic things, and I don't really think posting in this research thread is the right idea. Well, that's where this trades forum comes in. If you have a trade idea or a thesis, even something kind of resembling a plan, this is where it goes. Maybe I'll change this to trade ideas instead of just trades, right? Because you can still use this as your trade, a place to post your trades and your trade logs if you want. But we'll use this form here more proactively for preparing topics for the stream from you guys. And then that way it's like, okay, we're not having to wait for everyone to type out everything that they want, in like multiple messages. Like if you want to spend 15 minutes doing a quick little write-up and a little bit of research with a couple of pictures for something, as something for me to review over the stream, so then I can very quickly, interpret it, give my feedback on it, and maybe assist with the research. Like if I read what you're looking at and it's like, oh, wow, this is actually a really good point, and it also flows into like these one or two other bits of news or research that I know about. And then live on stream, I can go and grab those research things and post them in the trades post. So let's just get into this one right off the bat from you, Bay, right? From you, Ari. Effects of risk tolerance on USD price when we open up the gold fort. Yeah, Fort Knox, right? And it's half missing, fully missing. All right, let me turn the music back on for this answer. Yeah, this is way cooler music. This is already right off the bat, it's so much better. I might need to turn it up just a tad. That's good enough for you guys, right? Again, the whole goal is background music. All right. Yeah, I'm sure you guys will know. Harold on long USD CAD. Dude, everyone's long dollar CAD right now. As well as long dollar. Not yeah, everyone's long dollar. It's like everyone's long dollar. Here, let's go ahead and check this out on the yield spreads. The yield spreads are pretty negative at the moment for some reason. I think that has to do with Musk's comments, but I'm not terribly certain that's going to hold up because the tariffs, right? The tariffs are coming over a weekend. So I would rather be long dollar CAD, and I currently am long dollar. I mean, what's also nice is you can see my expectation, right? And my trade. So it's like, okay, you know, Joe's practicing what he's preaching. I've tried taking long shots as well over here, you know. So with that all said and done, we're probably going to have some deja vu, right? So this is when tariffs were initially implemented. And I'll go ahead and turn off these yield spreads so they stop coloring the bars. So here was the last time we had the tariffs. So we had the rise going into the last week. Here, I'll turn it down just a little bit. Whenever you start going into a new genre of music, you always have to find out, like, okay, what's the comfortable listening tune for this? Listening volume for this. Okay, so going into the end of January, we had the rise up. That was expected. And then we had the huge gap up when the tariffs actually got put on. And then immediately on the same day, we got the announcement of, oh, we're going to delay the tariffs an extra month, right? So now the month has passed. No progress has been made on the tariffs. Let's see here. Yeah, Canada and Mexico tariffs are expected to go into effect April 2nd. So if we click on this. So the tariffs will be like officially put in place on April 2nd, which is another whole month over here. Or that could just be a typo because it seems like the tariffs are going to be put on March 4th. So I'm not quite sure what Financial Juice is getting at here. There was news that the EU 25% tariffs were coming. But just to bring up, let's go and look at some poly market analysis real quick. So this is the poly market for will Trump remove tariffs, the 25% tariffs on Canada before March. And the AI gives it a probability of 10% that the tariffs get removed, and the markets are saying there's a 1.2% chance. So a 98.8% chance that the Canadian tariffs stay on. And then for Mexico, because these are both tariffs on Canada and Mexico, the AI is giving a slightly higher probability, but when you look at the market participants, it's 97%. So the odds are very, very, very much in favor of tariffs actually sticking around. Okay, so with that established, it's like, okay, we risk going into, because February 4th is next Tuesday. Yeah, so we have the weekend coming up here. We can very easily have deja vu back in February, dude. This rise up was, I just remember trading this This was insane. Oh my god. I was kind of upset because I had to, when you see something rise, 200 pips and then come back down, and then you have to, I was long around here, right? I did get long, and I did trade this, and I did make money. But man, if I was more on top of it with reacting to the tariff delays getting announced, I would have probably scooped an extra 100 or 150 pips off that. Which kind of bugs me. It's one of the reasons why I try to emphasize and focus on, it's really important, yes, to do your trade research. It's very, very important to read your outlooks. I mean, where is it? Where's the Discord? Here's the Discord. Just want to have this set up so then I can very easily grab the Discord. So this is what I mean by outlooks, right? All these things from all these different banks giving their commentary, giving their expectations for the week ahead. And by the way, today's Thursday. We start getting outlooks for next week starting today. So we, there should be some new posts in here over the next 2 to 3 days here. So keep an eye out for the next set of weekly outlooks. And, this is all well and good, but especially over like the last 2 to 3 years, when you get good at reading outlooks to the point where you can almost anticipate what the analysts are going to say next week, then the next level past that is getting good at geopolitical research, getting good at figuring out what makes a particular country tick culturally, who are the important people in that country, why are they important, what's their policy, how will they get along with other countries, why is the country the way that they are, who's in primary cultural opposition, and why do they have those expectations. Because if you're able to follow the major events culturally and politically of these countries, as well as economically, you'll have a much easier time figuring out what to actually expect when there are really key events going on. Like, for example, this stuff going on with Canada right now, or with Mexico. I mean, there's a whole thing right now with Trudeau. He's leaving office, and this guy Carney is getting in, and it's just a total wreck. I know a lot of guys here are from, Australia, in the UK, and some parts of Europe. But when it comes down to Canadian politics, my dad's Canadian, so I know a thing or two about Canada. This is just crazy what's going on in Canada with Carney. It gives me the ick, to say the least. It gives me the ick. This guy Carney, he's probably going to be in office for like he's going to be in office up until at least October, and then the Conservatives are going to get in and actually run the country. So, and this guy Carney is not going to be able to work with Trump at all. He's going to get steamrolled by Trump, and he's not going to be an effective leader for Canada at all. So if you think, oh wow, there's all this crazy tariff crap going on with Canada, and their political leader is going to suck for most of this year, and their economy more or less is going to suck because there won't be any genuine economic reform that will, because the Canadian Parliament is right now shut down, unless, and if Carney, the Parliament is shut down until the end of March here. So Parliament doesn't come back until March 24th. Carney is supposed to come in here as the new liberal leader, not labor leader, on March 10th. So the tariffs, so follow me here with what I am trying to point out with, hey, it's important to be following this stuff with outlooks and tariffs and whatnot, but if you don't see the political headwind coming around, you're going to be missing out on events that you could know for sure are going to happen, and give yourself time to actually interpret these things as economic developments occur to give you a better understanding of how assets might perform. Does that make sense? Right? It's a bit more complicated than what I've used to say, which is, the outlooks are like your vegetables, right? Read your damn outlooks, eat your damn vegetables. And when you're just getting into trading, I think it's a very strong place to start off. Same thing with if you're into crypto, same thing if you're into stocks or commodities, like read the outlooks and the analysis of the people who actually know what's going on fundamentally with the asset. Just so you understand what is actually being traded, right? Because anyone can do TA. Like, TA is not a very hard skill to master. It's not. Being able to think out like a month ahead of time and then do the research and collect all the important dates. Like, for example, with crypto stuff, it's really important now to stay up to date on political happenings in the United States, because at any point in time, Trump could come out and say something new about implementing the Bitcoin strategic reserve. Any news around that announcement coming out, you want to be there as soon as that announcement is made, and you want to be able to react to that news as quickly as possible. So you need a squawk chat like Financial Jews, and you need to be ready, willing, and able to get those notifications as quickly as possible, and you need to be able to interpret that news as quickly as possible in a way that actually makes you money consistently over time. Yeah, no longer will yen be the cheaper tourist hotspot for vacational travel time for a trip to... Yeah. God, I remember for like 2 years there. It was great. Oh, I should probably bring this up here. We want the calendar, right? Yeah, economic calendar. Let's go to today. All right. So the ECB Minutes already came out for the stream, and now we're getting a bunch of Canada and a bunch of US data coming out here. So let's delve into this. I already have this open, the monetary statements. Okay, there we go. Well, that's the monetary statement. I want the meeting minutes. Yeah, there we go. Oh, I think I hit back instead of, yeah. Okay, so these are the meeting minutes. I'll go ahead and post these in the stream chat real quick. I'm sorry, I know I'm a bit all over the place when it comes down to like, hey, we need to do research on the outlooks and pay attention to stuff. Like, I'm assuming you guys don't need me to literally spell it out for you. Like, hey, these things are important because fiscal policy can move currency markets and it can move equity prices and commodity prices, right? So if you have a new guy like Carney get in, who is kind of shit for brains, and he's not going to be able to work at all with Trump, you can tell why I have a pretty negative expectation of the Canadian dollar's outlook, maybe. I mean, Carney can keep Parliament on hold until March, and then sometime in May or June, like sometime way out in the future, like this guy, Carney, is likely going to be quite unpopular. there's a good chance that there's a vote of confidence against him. And Parliament is in gridlock in Canada. And then in October, or at least by October or sometime before, depending on if there's a vote of confidence against Carney, by October or before then, we'll have Poilievre as the prime minister. And Poilievre is a conservative, a fiscal conservative. He's okay with working with Trump. He's had some pretty harsh language, but I feel like he actually will be able to do something with Trump, or at least he'll at least be on, I wouldn't say good terms. I think Poilievre would be on okay terms with Trump. There's a lot of people who think Poilievre and Trump will get like friendship rings or something, but I don't think that's going to be the case at all. Especially after watching Poilievre speak and looking at his statements, being kind of critical and antagonistic to Trump in the United States when the tariffs were first announced, even way back in November after the election, and then again in January. I'm not so huge on that. How long do you think we have before Musk Chainsaw shows up in the unemployment figure? Oh, yeah. I talked about this in Ivan's group, and I also talked about this with Ari. I was actually Ari who brought this up with me. And I'm like, oh my god, that's such a smart thing to say. That's such a good point. Yeah, no, I have a grok on this. I did a little grok thing, but I also put it in. Let me before I pull it up, let me check. Yeah. Oh, I should just real quickly mention the reason why this US GDP number coming out in 4.5 minutes is really important is because we have PCE tomorrow. Now, the implication is somehow US GDP impacts US PCE. And the truth is, generally, yes. When US GDP comes in higher, US PCE, a measure of inflation, can also come in higher. So, real quick, let me find a little bit of research that I got. Okay, here it is. Yeah, so this is after I was asked by Ari here in the chat. It's like, hey, what do you think is going to happen for NFP? Do you think the Doge stuff is going to impact it? Let's zoom in a little bit more. So Doge job cuts look like they'll hit the Fed NFP releasing on March 7th. Either it comes in between 100 to 140,000 and USD stays choppy, kind of neutral, maybe it weakens. Or potentially NFP comes in sub 100K, like 50 to 80K. That would give the US dollar some weakness, and getting short it would, actually, no, this would make the US dollar. I mean, actually, yes, this would make the US dollar weaker. Reason being is it would be one of the indicators that unemployment in the United States would be rising. And so that would impact the Fed's policy mandate, which is to keep unemployment at relatively low levels. However, the other thing is that also inflation would be rising as well. So if the US PCE rises tomorrow, and a good sign of that is if US GDP rises today, even if NFP does come in slightly lower, it might cause an initial reaction on the day or on the following 2 trading days after NFP. But it would be a transitory effect because it would significantly impact the Fed's monetary policy. It'd just be a blip. It'd be a transitory thing. And the rationale is, okay, once the jobs are, I mean, I did hear that Elon Musk wants to try and cut like 500,000 jobs a month or something. I think I might be getting that number incorrect, to be frank, but it was at the cabinet meeting, right? The Trump cabinet meeting that occurred. Musk said he wants to hit some kind of quota of how many people he wants to get out of the government. And if he hits that quota, that's going to drive US unemployment higher. And it would take a while to get the private sector to get those people new jobs. But, you know, a lot of those people, they've been in government for like 5 to 30 years. They don't really have any other experience, and the private sector doesn't. Effectively, those people would need to get retrained to do other jobs that would actually be more productive in the private sector. So it could lead to not necessarily transitory unemployment, which is like 6 months. And that's what Janet Yellen says, right? When she said, when I think we made a mistake during COVID by calling inflation transitory, because when we said transitory and we were talking about inflation going away over like 2 years, when that was the wrong way to communicate it, because when we were communicating to the public interpreted the word transitory as like a 6-month ordeal, not a 2-year ordeal. So in Janet Yellen's own words, for transitory, 6 months is not, if we actually hit Elon Musk's Doge layoff goals, it's not going to be transitory, it's going to be systemic unemployment in the United States. And that's going to be one other thing that would keep the Fed higher for longer. I wouldn't be surprised if we had a couple of commentators, a couple of these institutions and these outlooks here start to say, oh, we might only get one Fed rate cut if inflation doesn't fall fast enough. And if these Doge unemployment reports start making it harder to get unemployment lower, because we just end up with people who need to be retrained, and it takes maybe a year or two to retrain some of these people. Let's see here. Okay, we got the numbers. Yeah, and it came in as expected. So GDP price index came in at 2.4. So it's actually a surprise to the upside. The growth estimate, quarter over quarter, it came down relative to the prior number. Okay. That's the second estimate. Yeah, so everything's in line. GDP's moving in line. But the price index part of GDP rose. So looking at this, I wouldn't be surprised if CPI tomorrow came in as expected. Like, it's not going to be, I wouldn't anticipate a huge surprise, frankly. Let's see here. Core PCE, yeah. Forecast 2.6. I actually, maybe. The other thing to take into account is that GDP is a more lagging indicator, right? GDP, right? If I scroll up here a little bit, this is Q4 GDP. We're now in February. So this would be the January PCE, no? Oh, and we're getting GDP for Canada. Great. GDP month over month, and then the quarterly. Yikes. Okay, so hopefully Canada's GDP does okay. Actually, I should update the stream headline tomorrow to include Canadian GDP there. Because we're... So what's that? That's for tomorrow. Yeah, I already got it in tomorrow's stream headline. And just as a little quick thing, here is the link. There's the link for tomorrow's stream. Yeah. So we want to see Canadian GDP come out higher. We want good growth to come out, because good growth would help pre-position the Bank of Canada to be in a more hawkish position if unemployment in Canada were to rise over the coming 3 months due to tariffs. It would allow the Bank of Canada to take a more hawkish position if growth came in really well. But it looks like, if I'm not mistaken, yeah, GDP growth rate annualized, that's expected to come in a percentage point higher. And yeah, we need Canadian GDP to come in at 0.3 or above to not be considered slowing down. Yeah, but it, you know, it looks like we'll at least get a bump up there. Let's see if we look over here. Yeah, we'll probably end up with a pretty flat quarter over a Q4 Canadian GDP. I wouldn't be surprised if it came in a little below the prior number, but yeah. Oh, hey Max. Yeah, I see ya. How long do you think? Yeah, we already got that. So hopefully, yeah, so thank you, Ari, for bringing up the NFP stuff. That's been a good bit to be aware of. We can go over this here, taking a longer term perspective. Let's Control F search for tariffs. Include the reduction in perceived downside economic risks from tariffs and a stronger than anticipated January flash PMI. Gotcha. So what is it? An assessment of the drivers of euro area long-term rates showed both domestic and US factors had pushed yields up. Okay, let's go to the next thing. In other commodities markets, metal prices were stable, subdued by weak activity in China, negative impact of US tariffs, food prices increased. December staff projections had not directly included economic impact of possible US tariffs as baseline, so it was hard to be optimistic about the economic outlook. So they're not particularly optimistic. Moreover, uncertainty about potential tariffs can be imposed by the US administration was weighing further on the outlook. In the meantime, labor demand was losing momentum, so potential unemployment increases. Moreover, it was argued that tariffs, their implications for the exchange rate and energy food prices posed upside risks to inflation. Okay, so higher employment, higher inflation. In response to the tariff, it might make the ECB a bit more hawkish, but it's also arguable how much more hawkish, given the end of the Russia-Ukraine war will provide some relief. But then again, given how much the leaders of the European countries, you know, Macron, Starmer, and now Merz, who just got in, a lot of these guys are super, super hawkish. And then Pistorius, oh my god, if that guy I've already read the analysis. Pistorius is the guy who's likely to replace Olaf Scholz as the leader of Germany's SPD, center-left party. And if that happens, Pistorius is very, very hawkish. He's a war hawk. He wants to go to war with Russia. And Merz is also okay with giving quite significant military aid to Ukraine. So Trump and Putin are kind of in a race right now to try and get the war done and done with before Merz is able to form a coalition with the SPD by Easter this year. I think I even posted on X about it. I brought it up, I think, in the last stream, if I'm not mistaken, but I'm real quick just gonna Oh, also, did you guys see this thing? SPF or SBF came out and said, hey, I have a lot of sympathy for government employees, right? So all those people that we were just talking about getting laid off from Doge, saying, oh, I have so much sympathy, right? Just some crocodile tears for those getting laid off that he conspired with in the US government. Freaking unbelievable. Let's go ahead and go back to the profile. Behold, the BlackRock neocon leader of Germany. This is Merz. This is the new chancellor of Germany. And this is him saying, none of us want to close the borders. So he's already backpedaling on the immigration stance, which effectively will guarantee that the AfD will continue to grow in Germany. Like, this is insanely stupid. It's incredibly ideological and not objective-based oriented leading. So he just, and results-based oriented leading. And then you can see here are the poly markets for odds of Canada and Mexico getting their tariffs on. So I'm posting good stuff onto X. Let's see here. Yeah, here we go. Merz wants to form a coalition before Easter because he wants to have the same political leverage, or some political leverage, before the Trump-Putin meeting, expected also before Easter. That's it. So, here, I'll go ahead and post this in the live stream chat if you guys use X at all. What is the AfD? The AfD is the anti-immigrant Libertarian Party of Germany. I refuse to call them right-wing because they're not right-wing. They get defamed a lot as Nazis, and they are absolutely not Nazis. You kind of can't be a political Nazi. The Nazi party is a banned party in Germany, so they're like definitively not Nazis. They are very libertarian mind oriented. They've grown. Their party size doubled in the last election. That was last Sunday. They went from 10% to 20% in the Bundestag, which is the German parliament. There's actually some analysis from a YouTuber that I used to watch a lot more, honestly. Let's see here. German federal election. Oh yeah, Atriok. So Atriok did this, he's a big YouTuber. Most important election in Europe. I don't like Atriok's politics, but at least he's able to realize they're the most at the left, that continuing to ostracize the AfD while politics stays status quo will only aid in the AfD's rise. Other than that, I found it kind of funny how Atriok has a negative view of BlackRock because he's done many, many videos criticizing the US economy and BlackRock's influence on the US economy, but then fails to bring up that Merz, this dude, the new chancellor of Germany, worked at BlackRock as the their European branch's chairman for 4 years. Or for that matter, why immigration is such a driving issue. The HROC is ignoring it effectively in this video, not bringing it up. I mean, how many times do I have to post in this German federal election thread, which, now it's kind of time to close it. But there were several stabbings that occurred even just before the election. This is the outcome of the German election that occurred last Sunday. But there were so many stabbings and so many political gaffes from MERS that got posted in here. It's just actually insane that people are like, oh, the AFDs are a bunch of Nazis. Well, I mean, how many knife stabbings do you need to see before you change your mind? How many, right? I mean, literally, there was a whole blow up with the CDU, MERS's party, and AFD, quote unquote, working together and breaking down the AFD firewall, because there were a bunch of children that got attacked and killed by someone who was not supposed to be in Germany. So it's very slow and very retarded to not take into consideration the negative implications of illegal immigration. I mean, the US has already had this discussion till we were blue in the face. The problem isn't with immigrants, it's with people who are coming here. Like, again, the boat migrants, just literally people risking their lives floating across the Mediterranean and then being given all this social welfare. Just given it. It's like, there are so many poor people already in the country. Now you're just taking all these people. I mean, I get that there's also refugees, but now at this point, a lot of the Syrian refugees, especially, the Assad's regime is done. All those refugees can now go home. The refugee status is not that big of a deal anymore at this point. Yeah, I know that we go into politics quite a bit, but it's important to stay up to date on these things because they can help, frankly, with trading. If you understand the whims of the politicians and the leaders of the world who are in power, you can better anticipate what they're going to do with your money, with your economy, right? And over time, knowing that information can mean life or death. It genuinely can be. Ooh, big drop. Oh, we just got a big old fat spike. We got some new data or something. Let's go ahead and open financial juice. How about that? All right, it's looking pretty good here on the dollar side of things. Oh wow, financial juice is taking forever to load. Oh, preliminary PCE came out higher. You see that? US core PCE prices prelim came out at 2.7. I didn't even know there was a preliminary. Damn, that was kind of dumb of me. Oh, yeah, see, there you go. Wait, no, that's not it. That's quarter over quarter. Oh my god, do not tell me. wow, the TradingView economic calendar really sucks. This isn't the first time this has happened to me, but seeing this now, it just makes me upset with using the TradingView built-in calendar. It's missing events. US core PCE prices preliminary. Kind of a big deal. Where is it, TradingView? Where is it on my freaking calendar? Right? And it's not like I have it filtered. I don't have it filtered. Where is the damn event? Fuck it. Ay, ay, ay. This is why we love financial juice, guys. This is why we love financial juice. Anyways, yeah. Initial jobless claims rose a tad, which is okay. And then the revised number looks like it increased 1,000 in the US. So unemployment slightly rising. So that's going to be on the hawkish side. Core PCE prelim, which is just a number to get expectations ahead of core PCE tomorrow. Yeah, so core PCE is probably coming in a bit hotter. Yeah. So we're going up and away at the moment. Man, oh man. I wish I was using a different calendar. I gotta remember not to, it's one thing to use the TradingView calendar maybe for streams because it has like the big flashing countdown timer and the coming soon, right? And everything's laid out in this like, dark tone. It looks nice. But it's missing information. Really important information. Let's see here. Really, I didn't know India had the same illegal immigration problem. Is it from where? What people are illegally immigrating into India? Oh, tariffs confirmed. April 2nd, reciprocal tariffs in full force. China is to be charged an extra 10%. Oh, that's going to hit Australia. We gotta check out Aussie. Yeah, there you go. I mean, it's only 20 pips. It's not the end of the world here. Everything's only moving. Yeah. I mean, the Canadian dollar has moved the most so far. Not in percentage terms, right? You can see New Zealand's moving a lot. Australia's moving a lot. Pound is moving about half as much percentage-wise. And there's a lot of strategies and a lot of portfolio managers and professional traders that they don't trade based off pips. They trade off the relative percentage change move. That's what they're focusing on, is the percentage move. But for us retail guys just kind of enjoying our time here, it's like, oh, damn, dude, the thing moved 100 pips. It moved 50 pips, right? Like, dollar CAD moving so far. Oh, man. Yeah. What a great expectation. Oh, I should probably bring up Euro USD because it's now moved down 40 some odd pips. Oh, we're gonna hit the expectation. Oh, we're gonna do it. Oh, we're gonna hit the expectation. This was 4 or 5 days ago now. I was like, hey, we're probably gonna close down, and I did this one on stream too. I did this on stream as well. Right? We did this expectation here, and then we did this expectation here. We didn't go as high as I expected on that move up, but I got the rotation right. I was like, okay, either this thing's gonna continue moving or we're gonna get one more bounce here. And we got the bounce. again, I hate doing these alternative scenario things, but as long as you're clear in saying like, okay, here are my expectations, this is kind of why I think there's an upside or a downside expectation and why I have this uncertainty here. It's okay to do that. Generally speaking, you don't want this line here, but anyways, another great call on the expectations side with time-stamped live streamed expectations. Let's go ahead and actually, oh, that's right, we were using the monthly closing range to set that expectation. And I believe we also used the timing dots, if I'm not mistaken. So this little blue area over here, oh, we got a notification for the DXY. Well, let me continue. This little blue area right here indicates where you have a peak in probabilities. What probabilities? Well, this is an indicator that tells you in this histogram and with these odds over here on the right, where for any given month Eurodollar ends for the month. Where does Eurodollar close for the month? So these blue areas to say, hey, during some more bullish months, it closes up here, and during some more bearish to neutral months, it closes around here. And then you can kind of see how it tails out over here and how it tails out over here. So it gives you some good information on the closing side of things. That's all well and good. And then I said timing dots, and then this would be the timing dots indicator, but I need to adjust it. This is still something I rarely want to get automated. Let's see, we want to right low dots. Oh, I think we did this here. Oh, actually no, it was the wrong indicator. The high dots, that's right, with the close lines turned on. Hey, check that out, pointing down to right around there. Can we get a few more dots? No, I guess we're gonna have to go to weekly. Check that out. Most of the closes are like way down there. Yeah. I think that's not correct though. Again, I forget exactly. Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. Pull down, then a pull back up to around there. Right. Again, I'll have to go ahead and look back at the analysis I did on this day. Thank God I timestamped these things, because now I can just be like, oh, let me go back to the stream that I did on February 23rd and find when I was talking about Eurodollar. Or I can go into my trading group, right? And go to my boss trades thread and check out, we can just search in here for, let's see here. Eurodollar. Yeah. Right there, that's for the day. That was a day trade setup. And then this is getting pretty old now. Yeah, that's why having your stuff written out is actually so incredibly helpful, because it allows you to search through all the messages and find what you're looking for. So yeah, we got new tariff information. Senior Trump official, the US wants reciprocal, equal trade with the UK. Oh boy. Well, the UK thought they were going to avoid the tariffs, but oh, look at that. I also set an expectation on the pound dollar for closing the month lower. Right? And yeah, we did have a move up and we eventually did tap that price, but I wouldn't say that's the best expectation in the world there. Let's see. Yeah, I'll go ahead and update this expectation real quick with an extra arrow down to there. That's where I'd expect this to be. So 125, 02, 02, 27, 05, 58. There you go. New timestamp, new trading expectation setup. I should probably move it over there to make it super clear. He's like, Mr. Magic Mike, you have a crystal ball, bro. You have crystal balls. No, man. You just do it for long enough, you set up stats, and you put yourself in the right position to take advantage of things like this. I mean, again, it's like 98% chance that the tariff was going to come on for Canada and Mexico. So, and we already knew that the tariff scenario for China wasn't going to be great unless there were some more negotiations. And we knew that the negotiations with China weren't going to kick up until the Russia-Ukraine war was officially negotiated. Because that was China, that's actually one of China's main fears right now, is that Trump resolves the Russia-Ukraine war and then puts the full brunt and focus of his new administration behind focusing on reorganizing the economic stance between China and the United States. Yeah, nothing super crazy here. Fed funds isn't moving much, it seems. We must get used to higher mortgage rates. Yeah, make housing more expensive. Why don't you? Let's see here. Trump Watch. Oh, you posted something in the Trump Watch. Oh, yeah. Thank you very much. Drugs are still pouring into our country from Mexico and Canada at a very high and unacceptable levels. A large percentage of these drugs, much of them in the form of fentanyl, are made in and supplied by China. Oh yeah, this was yesterday, right? No, this is, oh wow, this was earlier today. I thought I've read this before. More than 100,000 people died last year due to the distribution of these dangerous and highly addictive poisons. Why do I use the page like doing this weird zooming stuff? Millions of people have died over the last 2 decades. The families of the victims are devastated and, in many instances, virtually destroyed. We cannot allow this scourge to continue to harm the USA, and therefore, until it stops or is seriously limited, the proposed tariffs scheduled to go into effect on March 4th will indeed go into effect as scheduled. China will likewise be charged a 10% tariff on that date. The April 2nd reciprocal tariff date will remain in full force and effect. Thank you for your attention on this matter. God bless America. Like, oh, I love this president. I love my president. Man. Ah, such a relief. Such a relief to have a good leader in charge of the most powerful nation in the world and to know this stuff. I mean, I've brought this up maybe partially in other streams, but this whole stuff with the fentanyl impacts me directly because I've lost friends very close to me. Like, not like friends of friends, like people who I've known and loved for years to this. So yeah, it's hard to talk about in a whole lot of detail, but I'll give you one story of one person who wasn't as close to me I went to a barber shop, and it was I've been going, just as context, I had been going since I was a little kid to the same barber shop since I was like 4 or something. And I was, 16, 17 at the time. And I was going to the same barber shop for pretty much my whole life, getting my hair cut by the same guy as I was growing up. And he was retiring. So I was like, okay, now I got to go look for another barber. I went to like 5 or 6 places. I didn't really like how any of them, they were all like woke hipster types, and they all did stupid shit to my hair. And then I went to, my girlfriend at the time recommended me to a place that she knew, and I had this Irish guy all tatted up. I'm like, okay, I can get behind this guy. And he went and he cut my hair, and he did it perfectly. He did it exactly how I wanted him to do it, and if not, actually a little better than the guy I had been going to my whole life. I'm absolutely coming back. I go and I make a phone call the next week, 2-3 weeks later, to schedule another haircut. And the receptionist tells me, who are you? And I said, I'm so-and-so. I just came in, you gave me a great haircut last time. I'd like to start becoming a recurring client. And he's like, oh, you're so-and-so's boyfriend. So let me pass this over the phone to someone who knows her, and I'm able to talk to someone who knows the barber. And he's like, I'm like, what? What's going on? I'm just trying to set up an appointment. And the phone, essentially, this game of telephone through this salon comes through, and eventually someone tells me he died of a fentanyl overdose. Like, just out of the blue. I'm like, fuck, you know. And that was the first time I had been directly impacted. And it's not like, oh, this guy was just a good hairstylist. It's like, I had a great conversation. I remember having a great conversation with him. I don't remember what the conversation was about, but I remember laughing my ass off with him. I remember making him laugh. And yeah, man, that would have been a good friendship. And then there's a couple other people that I know on a more, friends who I've known for many, many years who also were killed due to fentanyl poisoning. But I don't want to go into that too much. So, this woke crap has literally been a life or death situation for the people that I knew, the people that I know, and my family and my community and my friends. So I don't think the left is stupid. I think they're evil. I think communism is evil. I think wokeism is evil. And I am so happy to have voted for this man 3 times in a row. It's like, thank God we have someone who's actually doing something about this. Damn, same thing with a doctor that I used to go when I was a kid. Yeah. Yeah, sorry for your loss, Joe. Yeah, man. I mean, not to make the stream a downer, because, we got trading to do, but I have my motivations for being engaged politically. Right? You're never quite engaged politically until politics starts engaging with your life, right? So it's better to be proactive. it's better to know your character well, so that then you can find people who are engaged in politics also of good character and try and propel and support them to continue doing well and continue staying in power. You know, not everyone's perfect. You know, there's pay for play stuff going on, especially like with Musk, right? Like Musk is definitely getting favors, right? But I'd rather the guy who has aspirations of making, you know, the human race a multiplanetary species. It's like, instead of having a George Soros type of dude who thinks we need to cull humanity by several billion people, I'd rather be supporting the cronyism of the guy who thinks humanity should flourish. So it's not like human beings are totally perfect. Everyone, you know, there's guys who are greedy and want power and whatnot. But it's like, if you're asking me of lesser of two evils, I'm going with Musk over fucking Soros every day. Yeah, really, Elon, yeah. Oh, I do have a new announcement. So, on another YouTube channel, real quick, I just need to bring it up. So not on this YouTube channel, but here we go. On this YouTube channel here. So I made a new YouTube channel called Boss Benchmarks. So technically Boss Benchmarks is the company that I've created to do indicator work. So, you know, when you go into the WAP store, right, this is Boss Trading Group, Boss Indicators, right, Boss Benchmarks. So technically this WAP is the Boss Benchmarks link. So if you actually want these indicators, you go here to the WAP, links in the description and all that. And same thing with the Discord. So if you want to get access to the Discord with the research and you want to ask questions and post that stuff in the trades section, or you want to read these outlooks that are, you know, there's another wave of outlooks getting posted later today and tomorrow, then you'll want to go over here, hit join, find the Profit Discord. But now there's a new thing here, and I put this in yesterday, PineScript mentorship. Now, this is just one-on-ones with helping build indicators and whatnot. This is just a side thing because I want to start doing more public contributions to building PineScript indicators. More or less to actually kind of force me to do more program. Like, I do a lot of programming already, but I want to do some more open source stuff, and you know, I just want to have more programmers around me, frankly, because it'll help with developing cooler stuff. So this channel, and I'll put the link to it in the live stream here. So this YouTube channel, I'll be doing live streams at least once a week. Program live. So there's a few indicators that I want to do. Like, everyone's like, hey Joe, what's going on with this trend cycle indicator, right? It's just a centered moving average. But if I go on to TradingView, centered moving average, there's only one that exists, and it's this one from 2022, and it's out of date, and it has these weird bands on it. And then you have all these other ones that are locked. It's like AK centered moving average. Yeah, it's like, no, these aren't what centered moving averages are. Sorry, like that's not what a centered moving average is. This is what a centered moving average is. So I already built this indicator a long time ago, but it's not public. It's not on my profile. When you go over here and you look at all my scripts and all my indicators, like you see probability pivots, you see seasonal statistics, pivot probabilities, probability cones. I want to rewrite probability cones, give that a proper update. I want to give boss bands an update, and I want to re-release trend cycle. So these are things that I can do casually on a live stream very publicly, but I also have I have several private PineScript libraries. So here I have this style library. I have a handful of other libraries that I want to develop and make public, and I want to live stream that. Now, these are going to be maybe 1 hour live streams, and then maybe I'll do one of them, maybe two of them a week for an hour or two, and that will be that. And then here's the thing, if you want like questions or tips or whatnot, then you can do a super chat and I can go ahead and answer a question. And then if you want the one-on-one stuff, you can go in here. And then there will also be a thing in here for announcements for the PineScript streams, because I know there'll be some people who only, they don't care about the trading group, they just want to learn about the PineScript stuff. Well, you can join this and then just get notifications for the PineScript streams. Also, there's not a whole lot of reviews here. Shit. I need to ask for more reviews. Shit. I've started talking with the guys over on WAP. I actually was in a live stream with the guys, some of the WAP developers and the WAP guys. They're very, very fun to hang out with. And they're like, hey, Joe, you should try this and try that with your stuff. I'm like, well, let me first build this thing out and work on just making good content with the live streams and focus on making good content with the indicators. And, we'll see how that goes, right? Over time, that should be bringing in enough people. And plus, I've started doing some clipping and highlighting of streams, and that's been good. So, yeah, that's been very, very good. Let's get one more round up here. I want to check out crypto, because crypto had crypto puked. Crypto had a bit of a puke here. Oh man. Yeah, check that out. Here, let's pull up the timing dots on this one. I really need to automate that setting. It's so annoying. I have to change it so frequently. So there's a lot of lows right now on Bitcoin here. I wouldn't be surprised if the thing moved higher at this point. Right, as we turn on the clotheslines. You can see a lot of the clotheslines are pointing like way up here. If we turn on this, it's like, yeah, so there's kind of a cluster of closes here and a cluster of closes up here. But you know what, given the tariff news that we just got here, look, China urges dialogue, negotiations with the US on trade disputes. China minister repeats opposition to US additional 10% tariffs. Two sides should address the respective concerns through equal dialogue and consultation. Oh, now the Chinese want to come to the table. Now they want to come to the table. Right. Well, stop sending fentanyl to Mexico, China. Stop supplying fentanyl to Mexico. Let's see here. I am Fed Schmidt. I'm more cautious about inflation given the lack of progress. Concern growing about the recent increase in inflation expectations. Expectation surveys are imperfect, but recent sharp rise means the Fed cannot let down its guard. Okay, so this is, Schmidt's being on the more hawkish side, and I generally agree with Schmidt's interpretation here that the Fed's going to want to stay on the more hawkish side of things. I would discount these polls. I would discount these moves here. I see either Bitcoin puking out a lung again over the next 24 hours here, or it's just going to be kind of a steady grind into the close like that. I'll just leave that drawing there. We'll see how that plays out. Yeah, what, PCE down up tomorrow? No, the PCE preliminary numbers just came out, Ari, right? Where's the... Yeah, I mean, if PCE did come down tomorrow, but the preliminary number came in at 2.7, right? That was the thing that caused the initial bump up. And then we got the tariff news, right? So if we go... Right, here's the tariff news. Mexico, Canada tariffs on March 4th. And then we also got this, right? PCE. Let's see here. What time did that come out at? 5:30. So let's check out DXY. Let's go to a 5-minute chart. So here's 5:30, and you can see that's pretty green. And then, boy, yeah. This is when the tariff stuff started coming out, I think, right? Yeah, 5:46, which is right here. So this was the rise on the increased, the US PCE preliminary numbers, coming in at 2.7 instead of the 2.5 as expected. So they came a little higher. DXY started moving a bit higher. Then here, this was the tariffs that Trump just talked about. So it was kind of a double whammy, right? So if PCE, if the preliminary numbers came in the opposite direction as the actual numbers, that'd be very, very weird. I personally can't recall when that has ever happened before. But if that did happen, that'd be actually quite hilarious. That'd be hilarious because it'd drive a lot of people, it'd drive me kind of crazy if that happened. But yeah, that would, a lower PCE would drive down the dollar a bit, but in the face of these tariffs, no. It might be a short-term thing, but it'll be imminently transitory is a good way of putting it. Imminently transitory. Man, now the music is a little too low. How you guys been liking the music? Has this been a good change of pace on the music? We're also going to have a much larger variety of music because we'll be going through some OC remix stuff. But yeah, I'm going to emphasize again, this was actually really great. Thank you very much, Ari, for bringing this up with the stream stuff. But this helps a lot. So I'll go ahead and say it again, because I really like it. If anyone wants me to cover a chart, a trade idea, an upcoming macro idea, or a geopolitical topic during the stream, to create a thread in the trades forum, then you can check the Plan the Profit YouTube channel for upcoming streams, right? So if I go here, Plan the profit. You can see that's us live right now. And then these are all the upcoming streams. So if you want, you can hit notify me on the front page here and get notified when these streams are coming up. So we have tomorrow's stream, trading US tariffs on Canada and Mexico over here. That's the opening stream for next week. And then, let's see, we got a bunch more coming out here. I don't need to read that. Oh yeah, ECB decision. I just added that one recently. Oh yeah, and NFP, right? NFP is way out here. NFP is this last one. Yeah. So we're getting things set up with the stream. So yeah, so if you have a particular question about anything specifically and you don't want to have to type it all up in the YouTube chat for like 15 minutes, you can write it up in a thread over here and I can take a look at it over here. You know, so long it's trading related. If it's PineScript related, that's, you know, leave that for the PineScript one-on-ones and the PineScript streams when those happen. Yeah. Oh, we got to move on probability weighted pivot. All right. Euro USD. Did I set up my alerts on Euro dollar for the probability weighted pivot yet? Oh, almost. It didn't quite touch it. Check that out. Oh, man. Oh, this is how I used to trade for a very, very long time, is trading around the probability weighted pivot point. And this is using seasonal probabilities. That's where the probabilities are coming from. So this is looking at the likelihood of finding the low for this particular week and then segmenting the odds based off pivot points. And that's just a probability weighted pivot. So it just takes all these odds against all these pivot points and generates a new number that kind of tells you like how the data is skewed. And dude, look at next week, right? The lows for next week are all around S1. So it's going to be likely another bearish week next week seasonally. Let's turn on the strategy dashboard real quick. Let's see here. I like the range biases. Let's see here. Next week. So for the bearish range, there's a 54% chance that there's an overshoot. So 50% chance of going past the S1 pivot. Okay. More than 50% chance of going past the S1 pivot. 30% chance of getting stopped out, which is this R1.5. So any shorts from like up here, putting them at the prior high for next week on a seasonal basis, 30% of the time that gets stopped out. But that, yeah, given the tariff stuff, I would expect dollar just to continue getting stronger at this point. Let's turn off the dashboard there. All right, go ahead and take care of the family. Harold, nice to see you around, as always. Is that a buy? No, not going into the end of the week. There's no and ifs or but. The way I set up my trading rules for this is you don't buy. You want to buy in the first half of the period for the pivot. So for this weekly pivot, if it if it bottomed out here, that would have been an okay buy. But given what we knew ahead of time, yeah, no. And by given what we knew ahead of time, I mean we have been researching all this stuff with the tariffs. Yeah, we're gonna like that. This is also in the trading, by the way. So if you want to hop into the trading group 10-day trial, you can try out all these indicators and whatnot for free. It's just there's a lot to go through. There's a bunch of indicators, so it's like, some people have asked me, Joe, can you just sell me one indicator, right? Like, I'll pay $50 a month for just one indicator. I don't really want all the rest of the stuff. Let me hop into the trading group and let me have just one indicator. I don't want to do $100 a month. I don't know. I've been thinking about maybe opening an option for that, but I've been having a technical issue. I don't actually know how to do that through WAP at the moment. It's just a lot easier for me to say, okay, it's $100 for the trading group and all the indicators. Like, to find out how to do things one indicator at a time is more of a technical issue I'm having at the moment. You know what? Maybe that's something I can talk with the WAP guys about and maybe find an alternative solution. But the problem with only using one indicator, like let's say you're just using the probability pivots, I've had a lot of issues with the probability pivots before. Like, there are times when this indicator works wonderfully, just like with a lot of indicators. Oh, it works wonderfully right now, but during like these particular points in time, it's not so great, right? That's where having 2 or 3 other ways of doing your analysis can really, really, really help significantly. Like, being able to pull up the ranges is kind of huge, right? Because now instead of using the probability pivots, which use seasonal data, range probabilities doesn't use seasonal data. It uses all of the historical data. It doesn't cluster things by seasonality. And then there's also seasonal forecasts, which only works on a daily chart. Give it a sec to load. Let's see, how does the seasonality hold up? Now, I'll just say this much. Seasonal analysis is not great when you're going into events like US tariffs, because this is a non-seasonal event that is dominating price action and the opinions and thought processes of market participants. Things are not quote-unquote nominal right now. They're not quote-unquote seasonally nominal. So there might be some slight seasonal cyclic thing that is unobservable going on, like the business cycle, right? We can estimate that seasonality in the business cycle and come to a rough average estimate of what that's going to be. But it's not necessarily as precise as most people want the analysis that they get from indicators to actually be. However, during some points in time, that cyclic and seasonal trend is a perfectly reasonable assumption. And it's like, oh, okay, so going into the month of March, we should have a positive move up until about the middle of March, and then a fall off into the end of the month. But from what we know about tariffs, about China, about all this other stuff going on in the US and abroad politically, with, you know, all these countries and political deadlock effectively in Europe especially, like the risks are insane to the downside. Like, Merz has already backtracked on stuff. Zelensky has already given multiple inches concessions on things that point to him essentially, you know, now getting pushed by the Americans into a peace deal at this point. It's like, the euro will probably see some relief on the peace deal getting finalized before Easter. And if it happens before Merz forms his majority government coalition, it's going to take away power from Europe at the table when it comes down to how the relationship between Merz and Trump will go. Because Merz wants to be at the table for the negotiations with Ukraine, and Trump is not letting Merz in. And frankly, a lot of the other party, you know, until he actually becomes chancellor, he doesn't really have the quote-unquote right to talk with Trump. So the longer time passes without Merz actually being officially the chancellor of Germany, the less time he has potentially to actually be involved in the peace negotiations. But you know, Merz doesn't really want peace. He wants Ukraine to keep fighting Russia. So Trump is not going to let him in the negotiations anyway. It's just going to continue to sour. Merz will, with Pistorius, as head of the SPD. German-Russia relations for a good chunk of Trump's term will probably be very combative, with Merz and Pistorius at the helm. And that might induce Trump to skew on the side of putting on more harsh tariffs because of poor negotiation and crazy ideological demands that Merz and Pistorius want to make, especially around, let's say, Ukrainian security. I mean, I know I'm kind of just talking to the handful of guys here in my chat right now. Let's see here. I want to buy the lifetime rights to one indicator. I'm going to share it. Yeah. Yeah, man. I mean, I wouldn't even feel comfortable selling the lifetime rights to one indicator because it's like, where is TradingView going to be in 20 years? Right? I have no clue. That's why I have local copies of all my indicator scripts. So just in case I want to move all my stuff to another platform, because, you know, TradingView goes under, or TradingView no longer exists, or there's another platform that's better somehow than TradingView, or I get paid like some absurdo amount of money to have these indicators on some proprietary firm's, you know, thing or whatever. It's just like someone's like, hey, you know, we want this indicator, but we want it on our system. We'll pay you a shitload of money. How do we do that? Then that's in the cart. So it's like, it's just, there's a lot of work that goes into it. So the subscriptions are just here to keep me working on the stuff and also doing this analysis, right? And don't get me wrong, my analysis is not flawless and beyond unbiased, right? Like, I'm definitely biased in some regards. But I actually think a lot of traders would be lying to themselves if they said something along the lines of, oh, you have to be unbiased when you're trading. Like, no, like the entire point of trading is to set an expectation. The change in expectations is what makes you money. Like, if you don't have an expectation that, like, let's say you're swayed by all these cronies in the media saying that Trump's not really, like, oh, don't take Trump literally, don't take him at his word, or, oh, you know, you can listen to Trump and consider Trump, but don't take his words literally, right? He doesn't actually mean what he's saying. All that bullshit, all that concern trolling is just that concern trolling bullshit. And those people make no money. They're propagandists, and they're just trying to make you stupid poor and suffer. That's it. They don't care about you. They just care about the money they can make off of you. And they're manipulating you to accomplish that. That's it. That's it. So you need to be an opinionated person. You need to kind of know where your true star is in character and in, you know, logic and rationale and in critical thinking. So then you can look at an asset and say, let me do some more research and figure out what's going on over the next month. What are the major economic events? Okay, now what are the major political events? What are the main driving forces? How are the people who are actually in power and responsible for taking control and governing an economy, and the big players involved in an economy, how are they going to interpret these economic indicators? What are other people thinking? And how do I relate to what they're thinking? And if you don't relate to what they're thinking, maybe you're stupid, maybe you are just uneducated, right? There's a lot of times where I felt very stupid and very uneducated listening to some very smart people's commentary on markets. And the easiest thing is just to do words clarification. Google the words you don't know, Google the concepts you don't know. And you know, it's like sometimes you read something and you're like 5 minutes into it and it's like, oh, I understand maybe 20% of what I just read. I can't grasp this analysis that I'm reading. So you go and you do some research, but then as you're doing it, like takes you like an hour or 2 or 3 that you're researching these economic concepts. And sure, you're learning a lot, but you're like, dude, how much do I need to learn? How much time do I need to invest to actually get all this stuff done? It depends on how effective you are at doing the research, at clarifying these concepts. It's really an at your own pace sort of thing. You know, sometimes it takes me 10 minutes to learn something that other people find really hard. Sometimes it takes me 3 hours to learn something that people find very easy, right? And a lot of that goes into what kind of assumptions people are making. Like, if there's a particular economic expectation, it's like, okay, why do people have those expectations for, you know, the Fed to stay hawkish, right? Well, then you have to learn about CPI and then the expectations for CPI. And then you have to learn about what unemployment is and what the expectations for unemployment are. And then you have to look at what the government's doing and what the government's expectations for those things are. And there's all these different features and factors that you have to learn about. And because you're a human being and you got a brain and, you know, at least 100 IQ, right? Or 90 IQ even, you can string together the logic of like, oh, if this, then that. Okay, fine. But this is kind of where having me do a stream and talk about this stuff can make the whole ordeal a bit more obvious, right? And just talking about it, right? Just having someone talk about the process sometimes can really help with enlightening the whole process. Anyways, I mean, this is around the time where I end the stream. I just kind of went on a rant today because all the move that happened today was kind of pre-planned and pre-thought out here for like the last 2 to 3 weeks. I mean, look, euro dollar, or rather USD CAD, especially on the Canadian side. You know, when I traded COVID, and I made like 1,000, 1,200 pips going long dollar CAD during COVID. Yeah, being long in early February. And then I got out at exactly the tippy top of March 23rd. Because on March 20th, the Fed sent out a message saying, hey, we're about to print a bunch of money. That's where doing research really comes in handy. And I had to do like a full day's worth of research to understand what, you know, the Fed sent out a letter on March 20th saying what they were going to do. I didn't understand any of the words in that letter. And then I spent a whole day researching it, and then I'm like, oh, okay. I now know that this means the Fed's going to print a shitload of money and send it overseas to a bunch of G7 central banks in order to intentionally weaken the US dollar. And they are giving everyone the heads up that they're going to do this over starting on March 23rd. The letter's March 20th, so they gave everyone a 3 days heads up. And March 23rd, depending on the chart that you're looking at and the direction it was moving, was either the bottom, like on equity indices, or in my case, the top for USD CAD. And just a little bit of understanding, a little bit of research can drive you into taking some really phenomenal trades and to have not a huge degree of uncertainty about about the actions that you're taking. Again, that's kind of on a person by person basis, but I felt so good doing it. It just the huge swell of competence overwhelmed me. I love feeling competent. I like that feeling a lot, right? And especially for something that a lot of people didn't catch. Like, that's genuinely the type of action, type of research that someone who is good at trading does. But it's a job, guys. It's not like, oh, this is something you do like part-time. It's like, you have to have notifications on your phone, you have to have an email address, and you have to like religiously make sure you go through it, because if you want to get paid from the markets, you have to know what's going on in the markets and the world around you. Which goes back to my favorite quote: the more you learn about the world, the better you get. And probably more specifically, the way you guys have heard me say it before is the more you learn about the world, the better at trading you get. But I've kind of wanted to generalize the quote too. The more you learn about the world, just the better you get as a person, in character, in understanding other people, in history. Like, generally, just the more you learn about the world, the better at life you get, maybe, is the better way of putting that quote. Man, this will be a really, really fun stream when we have like 20 people watching, all chipping in, bunch of like-minded guys. It'll be a lot of fun when these live streams really start popping off. So I really look forward to sharing more and getting more people onboarded to the trading group and more people onboarded to the live streams, and doing these live streams consistently. I really like how we have all the live streams planned out, all the upcoming stuff. So yeah, I really look forward to this. So I'm gonna say thank you very much for everybody who's watching so far. Like, subscribe if you haven't already. Channel's already small, but you know what? There's always this thing, like the last couple of years that I've been streaming, it's been, oh, I'll stream for several months and then I'll go on hiatus. Stream for several months and then go on hiatus. And then it always has this like churn time of like a couple of months to gain the audience back. And you usually see the spike up in audience retention after major economic events. So my job as a guy on YouTube and as a streamer is to try and be live when there are economic events happening, and to just try and find people who relate with the ideas that I'm talking about and make content for them. Like, you know, if you just want to make generic pop financial content, I'm sure there's plenty of people who can do okay with that, but I really don't get satisfaction out of that, and I kind of find it a waste. I intentionally go out of my way to ignore and kind of block YouTube channels like that from my feed. And there's not that many traders that I watch on YouTube because a lot of them are like exclusively TA. And I prefer guys who are doing statistical analysis. Like, I'll watch more guys talking about politics and geopolitics and the relation with what the expectations are for all the fiscal policies now on YouTube than trading, because I get better quality information from reading these outlooks. And also on X. Like, I don't watch guys on YouTube as much. I'll go on X. Here, I'll bring up what I do here. And I'll go to this heads of research list. Oh, wow, that's a bunch of notifications. And here, look at this, central bank update. You go, this is like, hey, last move was a hike or a cut. And I mean, literally, that's just a review of what the current central banks are doing. Let's see here. Brent, aka Black Lion. Family Office Derivatives. Gotcha. Jeff Dorma, Chief Investment Officer at Arca, Digital Assets Investing. NVIDIA crushed earnings, right? The bull case for stocks. Oh, Steno Larson. Man. He's one of my favorite analysts and commentators. I'm a fan of this guy so much. Trump, Twitter, toilets, and tariffs. The T4 rule, yeah. He's a funny guy, man. He's good. Representative Claudia, yeah. Yeah, like, what's this guy talking about? Wow. Jobless claims are out, and they're getting a little more interesting again, not in a good way. Initial claims spiked by 22K. Continuing claims ticked down by -5, so not so much. Where did the spike in initial claims come from? Okay. Like, this is quality. This is food for the mind. This is like what will keep you alive and not going crazy, misinterpreting stuff. Like, listen to good people who are doing good interpretations, who are known to have been making money. Follow the people who are already on a fairly well-trodden path, because, you know, there are definitely people who can produce quote-unquote alpha, but for most retail guys, that's mostly out of the question unless you have something incredibly novel. And in any case, that advice, just the most generic of advice and of rules of thumb, go out the window. People who are as ingenious, as people like that who are able to come up with like all new analysis or all new types of data series to generate their alpha with like practically free data. But for most guys who are retail who don't want to pay an arm and a leg for a tick data feed and a quant, it's like, okay, we just want to do okay. We just want to be on top of things. And we want, steady, stable returns. So there's, everyone and their mother is going to recommend equity indices. But if you're really dead set on the trading stuff, well, that's where staying on top of the outlooks comes in handy. Having a group of guys who you can talk to about trading really comes in handy. Other people who are on top of the latest breaking news is insanely important. Like there's so many times Big has brought my attention to stuff that I'm like, that is fantastic. And Berserker has brought stuff to my attention where I'm like, oh my god, that's fantastic. And I'm like, well, these guys make my life better and easier. And I also contribute too, because I'm the one going out and finding like the outlooks posts and hosting the area, right? So the more guys like that we can get in here, the better and better, like exponentially better and better and better this Discord's going to get. And at some point it's going to get big enough where it's like, okay, how do we make sure that things are actually interpretable for new people? And then at that point it's going to be like, okay, we need to probably collaborate on an introductory course of like, okay, here's where you start, here's the next part, here's the next part, and like baby step people through. Okay, here's how you actually can gain some form of competence in trading, and here are the resources that we use for that education, and provide it all for free, right? We're just, again, the trading group is just, we're charging for a trading group and indicators, because I need to get paid to pay for TradingView. Like, it's like it's not negotiable. Like, if I don't get paid for the indicators, TradingView won't let me publish the fancy private indicators that I want to publish. So yeah, there's like minimum fees, and then there's also, I would like to pay my news feeds and stuff without having to, again, the more news, if I want to get like 10 news feeds of political happenings from around the world, so then I can continue doing analysis and staying on top of stuff and giving you guys analysis, I don't want to have to reach into my like savings to do like a whole arm and a leg situation just to get political and economic research done, right? So, I have to have something to sell to offset those costs, right? And in having something to sell, it makes it a billion times easier to actually say like, okay, this is a fair transaction. Let's go ahead and get in the group. Let's go ahead and get the indicators. Let's go ahead and learn how to use the indicators. All right. Man, music is still a bit on the quiet side. Oh, that's the Balatro thing. Okay, so we are like way into this. How long have I been going for? Wow, almost 2 hours. All right, I am definitely going to cut it off here because I want to highlight and clip the stream still and get some research still done today. So I'll go ahead and end the stream here. I'll go ahead and see you guys in a bit.